Welcome to YouTubers Love Excel number 46. Hey, if you want to download this workbook and follow along, click on my YouTube channel, then click on my college website link and download the workbook. YouTubers Love Excel 41 to 48. Hey, this YouTuber asked a somewhat complicated VLOOKUP question. She said, here are our sales for our business. 0 up to 25,000, the person earns 0.25% commission. But when you get the next 5,000, you earn 1%. The next 10,000, you earn 2%. The next 10,000, you earn 3%. Above 50K, you get 5%. And here's the example she gave. So this person, if they earned 33,900, they would scroll over here. Oh, you'd calculate it this way. And you would get a total of 190.50. So each one of these brackets, in essence, you have to do a calculation. Now, there's lots of ways to do this. One straightforward and simple way to solve this problem is to actually build all the commissions from the previous brackets into your VLOOKUP. And this also works for taxes. Tax tables I've built where you have taxes from previous brackets. Don't build some huge complicated formula here. Just build all the taxes or commissions from the earlier brackets here. Boom, then it's relatively straightforward. Now let's go ahead and do that right here. The taxes from the previous bracket would be equals whatever we have from above, which in this case is 0, plus in parentheses the lower end for this bracket minus the lower end from the prior bracket, comma, times this percentage from the previous bracket. And then Control Enter and copy that down. Look at that, just like that. We have our column with taxes from the previous bracket. Let's look right here. Sure enough, it took 30K and subtracted 25K, which just gives us the $5,000 right there. If you don't believe it, you can actually highlight that and hit F9 just for a moment and see that that evaluates to 5,000. Then Control Z. Now, I also would like to show you how to do labels, because sometimes people look at tables like this and they're like, what? They don't really understand how this is working. So you can actually build a label for them. We're going to do concatenating and use the dollar function. Equals, and I'm going to use the dollar function. The dollar function is a function that takes a number and converts it to text formatted as currency. So I'm going to say $0. And I'm actually going to say comma 0 to round it to the dollar. And then the and symbol, ampersand, which means to join. And then since we're going to join it with text, we have to put double quote up to space. Notice I have a space before there and a space after. So far I have $0 up to. I'm going to hit F2. And I simply need to join with the ampersand another dollar function with the bracket from the upper end, the lower end from the next bracket, comma 0, close parentheses. That formula right there is very good for taxes, commissions, all sorts of things like that. So the person looking at it can easily tell. When you copy that down, you can see that this bracket is 40,000 up to 50,000, but not including. Now we have to do something slightly different because this is above. So equals, and then in quotes, above, space, end quote, ampersand, dollar function, this, comma 0, close parentheses. So that one would be slightly different. And that is a very polite way to do all sorts of lookups, but also other tables where you have categories. Histograms, for example, it's great to do that category label there. Now, let's see how to do this. We want to calculate our commission here. And actually, this is going to be a complicated formula. Not as complicated as if you didn't have this column. One of the things that's going to complicate it is that we have to look something up in a column and return it from that same column. It will involve us using index and match function. Now, if you're not so sure about how to use the functions here, I always have good notes up here. There's a great series that I posted at YouTube called the Excel Lookup series that tells you everything about lookup. So if you don't understand how this formula works, go look at that series, learn about VLOOKUP, index, and match, and then come back and watch this excellent application all in one formula. Now here's when you get a complicated formula like this, sometimes it helps to actually calculate the actual value for this one person in a separate cell. And that would be equals. We have our 39,000, so we would come racing down here. We'd realize that we'd bump into a bigger value, so it would be this line right here. So the taxes from the previous bracket is that, plus, and then since we have 33,900, but we need to find the amount just above from 30,000 to 33,900, we're going to take this cell minus this number right here. That's the one number in the formula, that 30K there, that's going to give us trouble because we're going to have to use index and match. Close parentheses, and then times this 2% right here. Now notice this number right here is going to be a VLOOKUP in our formula. This number right here is just going to be that cell. That cell reference right there is actually going to be an index match combination. And then finally, that one we'll be able to use to get that 2% of VLOOKUP. OK, so there it is, the 195. All right, let's put it all together here. In fact, let's go ahead and name. I'm going to name this right here. Highlight that because we're going to use that for the VLOOKUP, and call it VL for VLOOKUP. Enter. And then I'm going to highlight this column right here because we're going to have to use it for match and index. And I'm going to call it MI for match index. That'll just keep them all short. The formula is short. OK. Let's make this nice and big. All right, here we go. Equals VLOOKUP. Lookup, VLOOKUP. Oh, I almost got caught there. And what are we going to look up? This, comma, what table are we going to use? VL, comma, column index. Since we want to get this value right here, you can see column 1, column 2, column 3 of the VLOOKUP table. So this is column 3, and since that's what we want to return, we got to put 3. Now, the final argument is either approximate or false. We definitely want approximate because we want the VLOOKUP function to take this value right here, race through the first column, find the biggest value that's first value that's bigger than it, bump into it, and then jump back to the next row. So we're going to put true or 1, but since that's the default, you can actually just leave it off. So for our example, we're not going to even use that argument. Now, Control Enter just to see that VLOOKUP does return $112.50. F2. Now we're going to have to do plus, and in parentheses, this value right here, minus, and this is where we're going to have to use our index and match. So index. And the problem is VLOOKUP won't look up something in the first column, period, and it definitely won't look up something in the first column and then return something from that first column. But index will. Hey, I'm going to use MI because that's the area we're looking up, comma. And now the array, this index, it needs the array here and then the row number. Well, we want the third row number, and we're going to use the match to tell us that that's the third row number. So I'm going to say comma and then match, open parentheses. What's the lookup value? This right here, comma, and I want and we want the match of that right there looking through MI. And here we are going to have to put less than or equal to this 1. You can either put, yeah, so 1 here. And let me just show you that this returns that number 3 because the index is going to look through here, but you got to tell it what row it's in, and we want row 3. So watch this. You can highlight this and then hit F9 to evaluate. Oh, look at that finds 3. Click Control Z real quick. And then close parentheses. Hey, let's see what this returns right here. I'm going to hit F9 just to show you. Oh, look, that returns the 3,000. Control Z. So now we have our 33,900 minus 3,000. So we're going to say close parentheses because that's the number we need to multiply by our final VLOOKUP because we need to do VLOOKUP and tell it the second column. Watch this. I'm going to highlight this right here. Copy. And I'm going to click very carefully at the end and Control V and change this to a 2. And watch this. You can prove to yourself right there and then hit F9. Is it going to give us the 2%? Oh, that is so cool. Control Z, and then Control Enter in the column. All right, we'll see you next YouTuber trick.